Dr. Elizabeth Libby Morgan wiped the rust-colored Martian dust from her faceplate, squinting at the peculiar patterns etched into the rock face before her. After 3 years of excavating Olympus Mons, she learned to trust her instincts, and something about these markings set her nerves on edge. Dr. Morgan, the Galactic Council observers are requesting another routine inspection of our dig site, her assistant, James Chen, reported through the comlink. His tone carried the same frustration they'd all felt since the aliens had arrived 2 weeks ago. "Tell them I'm indisposed," Libby replied, running her gloved hand along the geometric patterns. "These markings, they're not random. They're too precise, too familiar." The Council's timing couldn't have been worse. Just weeks after humanity had been patronizingly welcomed into their ranks as the galaxy's newest primitive species, Libby's team had stumbled upon something that defied explanation. The patterns weren't just familiar, they were human. Mathematical constants, golden ratios, and variations of the Fibonacci sequence, all woven into what appeared to be a door mechanism. "James, get Dr. Rodriguez down here with the quantum scanner. And make sure our alien friends don't follow." As she waited, Libby reflected on the Council's condescending welcome ceremony. The Zixtal ambassador had practically patted her on the head while explaining how their species had graciously decided to guide humanity into the galactic age. The memory still made her blood boil. Rodriguez arrived minutes later, his bulky scanner humming to life. "What have you got, Libby? Either I'm crazy, or we're looking at the most sophisticated example of ancient human engineering ever discovered." She pointed to the patterns. "Look familiar?" Rodriguez's sharp intake of breath crackled through the comm. "These are basic human engineering principles. But that's impossible. We didn't reach Mars until 2051, I know." Libby pressed her hand against a central node in the pattern. "Which means either everything we know about human history is wrong, or—" The ground beneath them shuddered. Dust cascaded from the rock face as the patterns began to glow with a soft blue light. The surface wasn't just etched, it was a form of circuit, coming alive under their touch. "Libby, these energy readings are off the scale." Rodriguez stumbled back as a perfect rectangle of rock simply vanished, revealing a dark passage beyond. That's molecular dissociation technology. We don't have anything close to that level off." "Dr. Morgan." James's panicked voice cut through their comms. "The Council observers just launched a shuttle. They're heading your way." Libby made a snap decision. "James, initiate Protocol Dark. Full communications blackout now." She turned to Rodriguez. "We have maybe 10 minutes before they land. You in?" He nodded, already calibrating his suit's lights. Together, they stepped through the doorway into humanity's hidden past. The passage extended deep into the mountain, far too uniform to be natural. Their lights revealed walls covered in the same circuitry-like patterns, all pulsing with that faint blue glow. After about 50 meters, the tunnel opened into something that made them both freeze. It was a facility, a massive, perfectly preserved facility that stretched beyond their light's reach. And everything about it, from the doorways sized for human proportions to the English lettering on the walls, screamed of human origin. "My God," Rodriguez whispered, his scanner working overtime. "Libby, this place. It's at least 300,000 years old." Before Libby could respond, a holographic interface flickered to life before them, its human letters glowing in the darkness. "GDNETIT profiles who NFFI are needed. Welcome home. CHL Durian of Earth." Above them, the distant whine of the Council shuttle's engines grew louder. Whatever they'd found, whatever impossible truth lay hidden in this facility, Libby knew one thing for certain. Humanity's understanding of its own history was about to change forever. And not everyone in the galaxy would be happy about that. The holographic interface hummed to life, bathing the chamber in a soft azure glow. Libby's heart pounded as thousands of data streams materialized around them, each one a window into an impossible past. Behind them, The facility's entrance sealed itself with a crystalline barrier that the Council's scanners would read as solid rock. "They're landing," James reported through their secured channel. "I've got Henderson running interference, claiming we're in a subsurface radiation pocket." Rodriguez let out a low whistle as his quantum scanner processed the data streaming around them. "This isn't possible. The quantum coherence of these systems, they're still running at full capacity after 300 millennia." Libby reached out to touch one of the floating displays, and it expanded instantly, responding to her movement. The text was English, but the dialect was unlike anything she'd seen before. Yet somehow, she could understand it perfectly. "The interface must be adapting to our modern language patterns," she murmured, eyes widening as images began to flow across the display. "Look at this." A hologram shifted, showing a massive vessel emerging from Earth's orbit. Its design was both familiar and alien, clearly human in its aesthetics, but built with technology far beyond their current capabilities. The ship was enormous, easily dwarfing the largest vessels in the current human fleet. "Project Exodus," Libby read aloud, her voice trembling with excitement. "First launch of the Genesis-class city ships, carrying 50 million colonists to the Centauri systems." She checked the timestamp and felt her knees go weak. This was recorded 297,000 years ago. Rodriguez had moved to another console, his hands flying over the adaptive interface. "Libby, there's more. Much more. The Empire, that's what they called themselves. They weren't just visiting nearby stars. They had colonies in thousands of systems. They had mastered dimensional folding, artificial gravity manipulation, even consciousness transfer." A sudden tremor shook the facility. Above them, the Council shuttle had landed. "They're deploying ground-penetrating radar," James warned. "Whatever you're going to do down there, do it fast." Libby nodded, though her colleague couldn't see it. She reached deeper into the data streams, searching for answers. Why had this advanced civilization vanished? Why had they hidden their achievements? The answer came in the form of another hologram, this one showing a recording of a woman in a uniform Libby didn't recognize. Despite the centuries between them, the family resemblance to modern humans was striking. "Final log entry," the woman began, her voice clear despite the ages. "The Council of 13 has enacted protocol. Genesis. The Harvester fleets approach from beyond the galactic rim, and we cannot stop them. Not yet. Our only choice is to hide, to regress, to become something they won't recognize when they return." Rodriguez had stopped his scanning, transfixed by the recording. They chose to go extinct, at least as an advanced civilization. "No," Libby corrected, reading through the streaming data. "They chose to become us. They engineered their own technological regression, planted false archaeological evidence, and—" She paused, staring at a particularly stunning piece of information. "They seeded the galaxy with life. Most of the species in the Galactic Council. They were our projects, our experiments, our children." The facility trembled again, more violently this time. The crystalline barrier at the entrance flickered. "Dr. Morgan," a new voice cut through their comm channel, smooth, alien, and cold. "This is Observer Vix of the Galactic Council. Your presence is required on the surface. Immediately." Libby shared a look with Rodriguez. The Zixtal observer's tone left no room for argument, but the data around them held secrets that could reshape the galaxy. With quick movements, she began transferring critical files to her suit's quantum storage. "James," she whispered into their secure channel, "initiate protocol blackout. If we don't return to the surface in 20 minutes, seal the facility and send the emergency burst to Earth Command. They need to know what we found here." As they prepared to face their observers, Libby couldn't help but smile at the irony. The Zixtal, who had so recently welcomed humanity as primitive newcomers to the galaxy, were about to discover that they owed their very existence to the species they'd been patronizing. The only question was, How would they react to that truth? The surface meeting with observer Vix Trix had gone exactly as Libby expected. A dance of half-truths and carefully worded responses. Now, back in the facility's depths through a hidden secondary entrance, she and Rodriguez worked frantically to decode the remaining logs before the council realized they'd been deceived. Playing emergency broadcast recording Delta 7, the facility's AI announced. The holographic display flickered, showing scenes that made Libby's blood run cold. A massive human city ship, easily the size of Manhattan, erupted in a brilliant flash of light. The gamma-ray burst that consumed it was so precisely targeted it couldn't have been natural. Dozens of similar recordings followed. Human colonies, space stations, and entire worlds, all destroyed with surgical precision. "Stop playback," Libby commanded, her voice hoarse. "Show me the analysis of the attacks." The AI complied, displaying a galaxy map marked with thousands of red points, each representing a destroyed human settlement. The pattern was unmistakable. Something had systematically hunted down every advanced human installation. "Dr. Morgan," Rodriguez called from another console, his face pale. "I found the last transmission from the Council of 13. You need to see this." The hologram shifted to show a chamber much like the one they stood in, filled with 13 individuals in elaborate uniforms. Their faces showed a mixture of determination and grief. "To any of our children who find this recording," a woman with Admiral's insignia began, "we're sorry. We failed to see the threat until it was too late. The Harvesters, as we've named them, seek out and destroy any civilization that achieves certain technological benchmarks. We discovered their pattern too late. They've been doing this for millions of years, culling species that reach our level of advancement." "The gamma-ray bursts," Rodriguez whispered. "They weren't weapons. They were scanning beams, analyzing our technology level." The Admiral continued, "We could fight, but the price would be extinction. Instead, we've chosen a different path. Protocol. Genesis isn't just regression, it's evolution. We're seeding thousands of worlds with modified human DNA, creating new species that might find different paths to advancement. And on Earth, we're rewriting our own history." The hologram showed massive ships entering Earth's atmosphere, carrying devices that would alter the planet's geological record. Other ships released engineered primitive humans, their own ancestors, into carefully prepared environments. "Our technology will be hidden in facilities like this one across the galaxy," another council member explained. "But the key to survival isn't in our old weapons or ships. It's in the changes we've made to ourselves. Each regression cycle is designed to force humanity to evolve new approaches, to think differently, to find paths the Harvesters won't recognize." Libby's hand trembled as she accessed more recent data. The facility's sensors had been silently monitoring human development for millennia. Each major breakthrough in human history, the control of fire, the development of language, the agricultural revolution, had been subtly guided by hidden technologies, pushing humanity to evolve in specific ways. They didn't just hide, she realized. They turned human development into a weapon. We're not less advanced than our ancestors. We're differently advanced. A sudden alert blared through the facility. Above them, the council observers had detected their hidden entrance. "Libby," James's voice crackled through their secure channel. "They're bringing in heavy scanning equipment. Multiple shuttles incoming." Rodriguez was already downloading critical data. "They'll find us this time. We need to." "No," Libby interrupted, a plan forming in her mind. "Our ancestors spent 300,000 years preparing for this moment. We're not running." She turned to the facility's eye. "Show me the defense systems." The AI complied, revealing schematics that made both scientists gasp. The entire facility was a dormant warship, buried within Olympus Mons. And it wasn't alone. Similar installations existed on every human-settled world, waiting for the moment their children would need them. As the council forces approached, Libby couldn't help but smile. The ancient humans hadn't just hidden their technology. They'd hidden their strategy. Sometimes, the best way to win a war was to lose it spectacularly, only to rise again when your enemy least expected it. "James," she commanded, "tell our observers we're coming up." It's time they learned what humanity really is. The Galactic Council's emergency session erupted into chaos before Libby had finished her first sentence. The massive circular chamber, designed to showcase unity among species, now highlighted their divisions. Hundreds of alien representatives shouted over each other, while holographic displays showed the Mars facility's recordings. Impossible. The Zixtal ambassador's scales flickered with rage patterns. "You expect us to believe that humanity, barely capable of interstellar travel, was the progenitor species of the galaxy?" Libby stood at the center of the storm, her white Federation uniform stark against the ornate alien architecture. "I expect you to believe evidence, Ambassador. The same evidence your scientists are desperately trying to suppress on Mars right now." The chamber's displays shifted to show genetic analyses, irrefutable proof that Zixtal DNA contained carefully engineered markers of human origin. Similar data streamed past for a dozen other species. "The Meridians withdraw from these proceedings," announced their representative, a being of seemingly pure energy. Their sudden departure sent shockwaves through the assembly. The Meridians never withdrew from anything. "How convenient," Libby continued, her voice cutting through the renewed chaos, "that the species claiming to be our mentors disappear the moment their own origins are questioned." A new voice cut through the chamber. "High Counselor, Arcstar of the Protean Alliance. Dr. Morgan speaks truth." The ancient alien's admission silenced the chamber. "My species has maintained certain records. We knew of the First Empire, though we never knew they were human." "Then you know what hunted them?" Libby pressed. "What still hunts advanced civilizations?" "Order." The council chairman's gravitational pulse flattened everyone to their seats. "Dr. Morgan, you realize the implications of what you're suggesting. If humanity reclaims its ancient technology, we'll paint a target on the entire galaxy," she finished. "Yes, that's why we're not reclaiming it. Not directly." The chamber's main display activated, showing live feeds from Earth. Humanity's response to the revelations had been surprisingly measured. Instead of rushing to unearth ancient weapons, they were analyzing the evolution protocols hidden in their own history. "My ancestors didn't just hide technology," Libby explained. "They hid knowledge in our development, forcing us to solve problems in ways the harvesters wouldn't recognize. While you were building copies of First Empire technology, we were becoming something new." The Zixtal ambassador's scales now showed fear patterns. "The humans are more dangerous than we thought. We should contain them before." "Before what?" Rodriguez's voice rang out as he entered the chamber, carrying new data from Mars. "Before we reveal that your species' recent innovations were actually built from stolen human designs. Our scans of your ships show First Empire quantum signatures. You didn't develop that technology. You found it and copied it poorly." The chamber erupted again, but this time the shock was tinged with terror. Species that had prided themselves on their technological superiority were facing a harsh truth. They had been stagnating, merely scavenging and copying ancient human achievements while failing to truly innovate. Enough. Libby's command carried the weight of 300,000 years of hidden history. "We're not here to reclaim authority or demand reparations. We're here because the harvesters are returning. The gamma-ray bursts have resumed at the galaxy's edge. And this time, we need to face them together." She activated her final display, a recording from the Mars facility showing the true scope of the First Empire's plan. It wasn't just about hiding. It was about creating a galaxy of diverse approaches to advancement, thousands of different paths to fighting the harvesters. "My ancestors didn't just create your species," she concluded, her voice softer now. "They created you to be different from us, to think differently, to solve problems in ways they couldn't imagine. We're not here to rule you. We're here to learn from you, all of you, because only together do we have a chance against what's coming." The chamber fell silent as the truth sank in. Humanity hadn't just discovered its past, it had revealed the galaxy's future. The only question was whether ancient grudges would doom them all before that future could begin. In the silence, Libby's secure communicator vibrated. A message from James. New signals detected beyond the Oort cloud. They're coming. The Prometheus cut through the void between stars, its experimental quantum drive humming with power that was both new and anciently familiar. Libby stood on the bridge, watching the holographic displays track multiple pursuit vessels, some Galactic Council, others from species who'd broken away after the revelations. "We've got 3 Zixtal warships on an intercept course," James reported from the tactical station. "They're using First Empire drive signatures. Looks like they found another vault." "But they don't understand what they found," Rodriguez added, his fingers dancing across the engineering console. "Their quantum field harmonics are all wrong. One good solar flare, and those drives will collapse." Libby nodded, studying the quantum key they'd recovered from Mars. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, responding to her thoughts. "How long until we reach the Sirius vault?" 3 hours, assuming we don't have to fight our way. James was cut off by a proximity alarm. New contacts. Meridian vessels, just dropped out of whatever the hell they use for FTL. The bridge crew watched in awe as the energy-based ships took up formation around them. Their design was utterly alien, yet Libby's trained eye could spot subtle elements of First Empire influence. "Dr. Morgan," a familiar voice resonated directly in their minds, the Meridian ambassador. "We offer escort to the vault. Unlike others, we remember our debt to humanity." "Incoming transmission from the Zixtal fleet," James announced. "They're demanding we surrender the key and all data from Mars." Libby allowed herself a small smile. "Tell them we decline. Then show them why copying technology you don't understand is dangerous." Rodriguez grinned, activating a sequence they'd discovered in the Mars logs. A subtle pulse emanated from the Prometheus, harmless to properly shielded ships, but devastating to poorly copied First Empire tech. The pursuing vessels suddenly lost power, their drives going dark. "Their auxiliary systems are intact," Rodriguez confirmed. "They'll live, but they'll have plenty of time to think about reverse engineering safety protocols while they wait for rescue." The Prometheus continued its journey, now flanked by Meridian escorts. As they approached the Sirius system, Libby reviewed the Mars data. Each vault contained different pieces of humanity's legacy, not just technology, but cultural and biological data that explained how humans had seeded the galaxy with life. "Energy surge," James called out. "Something's powering up on Sirius B." The white dwarf star they orbited pulsed with impossible readings. A massive structure phased into normal space, a First Empire installation larger than Earth's moon. "Beautiful," Rodriguez whispered. "The stellar mass provides perfect camouflage from harvester scans. They'd never detect it through the gravitational noise." As they docked, Libby's team moved with practiced efficiency, their environment suits adapted with First Empire tech. The Meridians remained outside, their energy forms serving as silent guardians. Inside, the vault was different from Mars. Where the Mars facility had been a military installation, this was something else entirely. Massive chambers held biological samples from thousands of worlds, genetic templates used to seed new species. "Liddy," Rodriguez called from a central console. "I found their primary research database. They weren't just creating new species, they were running the longest evolutionary experiment in history." The data confirmed what she'd suspected. Each seeded species had been designed to evolve along different technological paths, developing unique approaches to physics, biology, and computation. The Meridians had evolved toward energy manipulation, the Zixtal toward biological technology, others toward paths humans had never imagined. A sudden alert blared through the facility. New signals appeared on their scanners. Massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. "Multiple contacts," James reported, his voice tense. "Nothing matching known configurations. They're huge." Libby stared at the readings, her heart racing. The harvesters had arrived earlier than expected. But as she watched the alien ships approach, she noticed something odd about their attack pattern. They're not targeting us, she realized. They're fighting each other. The Vault's AI confirmed her observation. Class 4 Harvester Civil Conflict detected. Primary directive: internal warfare over evolutionary divergence. The Great Plan is proceeding as designed. Libby understood then. Humanity hadn't just been preparing to fight the harvesters. They'd been working to make the harvesters fight themselves. The real weapon wasn't technology. It was diversity itself. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them we found something better than weapons. We found hope." The Prometheus limped back to Earth, battle-scarred but triumphant. Through the bridge viewport, Libby watched the gathered fleet of alien vessels, former enemies now united by an impossible truth. The Harvester Civil War had bought them time, but the data they'd recovered from Sirius would change everything. "Ready to transmit to all Council species," James announced, his console displaying feeds from 1,000 worlds. "Though I'm not sure they're ready for this." "They'd better be," Libby replied, activating the quantum archive they'd recovered. "Because it's time they knew exactly what they are." The holographic display erupted with images from humanity's past. Vast laboratories where species were engineered, test worlds where evolution was guided, and the faces of the scientists who had played at being gods. "This is first contact," Libby began, her voice reaching every corner of known space. "Not our first contact with you, but your first contact with us. 300,000 years ago, humanity looked at the galaxy and saw potential. We didn't just want neighbors, we wanted children who would surpass us." The display showed the Zixtal's true origins: Earth reptiles, carefully evolved and enhanced until they developed their remarkable adaptive abilities. Then the Meridians, uplifted from Earth's cetaceans, their consciousness gradually transferred into pure energy. Species after species, each engineered with specific gifts, specific paths of development. "Your myths about ancient benefactors weren't wrong," she continued. "They just didn't tell the whole story. We didn't create you to serve us. We created you to survive what we couldn't." In the council chamber, watching through quantum relays, the alien representatives sat in stunned silence. The Zixtal ambassador's scales had gone completely white, a sign of profound shock in their species. "Each of you was designed to think differently, to solve problems in ways we never could," Rodriguez added, stepping forward. "The Meridians developed energy state physics we still can't comprehend. The Zixtal mastered biological adaptation beyond our dreams. Every species brought something new to the galaxy. The facility's AI added its own data, detailed genetic markers, hidden switches in alien DNA that proved their human origin. But it was more than just genetics. Cultural patterns, mathematical principles, even artistic expressions could be traced back to careful seeding by the First Empire. But here's what our ancestors didn't expect," Libby said, her voice softening. "You became more than they designed. You evolved, grew, developed in ways they never imagined. You didn't just inherit their legacy, you transformed it." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices and transmissions. Some species reacted with rage, others with religious awe. The Meridian representatives began to pulse with colors humans had never seen before, their equivalent of weeping. Then, from the back of the chamber, a new voice spoke, a harvester. Not one of the giant ships, but a small observer that had been hiding among them, studying their civilizations. "This explains the anomaly," it said, its translated voice carrying notes of fascination. "Your species don't develop along predicted paths. You keep changing, evolving. Even now, you're becoming something new." Libby faced the harvester directly. "That was the point. My ancestors knew they couldn't fight you directly, so they did something else. They created diversity itself, a galaxy of species that would evolve in ways you couldn't predict or control." The harvester's response was lost in a sudden cascade of alerts. The quantum sensors detected massive energy signatures. The main harvester fleet had finished its civil war. The survivors were coming, and they would be even more dangerous than before. But as Libby looked around the chamber, at the faces and forms of humanity's children, she saw not fear but determination. The sixfold scales rippled with war patterns. The meridians pulsed with power, each species prepared for battle in their own unique way. "We are not your failed experiments," the Zixtal ambassador declared, addressing humanity's deep past. "We are your successors, and we will prove worthy of that heritage." Libby smiled, activating the final database from Sirius. "Then let's show our ancestors what their children can really do." The war for galactic evolution was about to begin. The Proxima Centauri facility was different from the others. While Mars held weapons and Sirius contained biological data, this installation radiated pure dread. Libby felt it the moment they stepped inside. This was where the First Empire had learned the truth about their enemy. Multiple harvester signatures detected, James reported through their quantum-linked suits. "They found us." "Let them come," Libby replied, approaching the facility's central core. "They need to see this too." The chamber activated at their presence, but instead of the usual holographic displays, it created something else, a perfect simulation of space-time itself. Within it, Libby could see the pattern of galactic evolution, spanning billions of years. "Oh God," Rodriguez whispered, reading the data streams. "The harvesters, they're not hunting advanced civilizations. They're farming them." The simulation showed the truth. Every few 100,000 years, the harvesters would sweep through the galaxy, culling species that reached a certain technological threshold. But they weren't destroying these civilizations. They were harvesting their knowledge, their innovations, their unique approaches to understanding the universe. They're not original thinkers, Libby realized, watching eons of history unfold. They can't innovate on their own. They need to collect new ideas from other species. The facility's AI confirmed her theory. First Empire scientists discovered that the harvesters were created by an even older species, one that sought to preserve knowledge across cosmic cycles. But their creation evolved beyond its purpose. It became addicted to the process of collection itself. A new alert blared. The harvester ships had entered the system, but they weren't attacking. They were waiting. Accessing primary data core, the AI announced. Warning protocols initiated. The chamber shifted, showing the First Empire's final discovery. The harvesters weren't just collecting technology. They were guiding galactic evolution itself, subtly pushing species toward certain developmental paths, making them easier to predict and harvest. "That's why humanity went backwards," Rodriguez said, his voice filled with awe. "We didn't just hide. We broke their pattern completely." Libby watched as new data streamed in from their allied species, the Meridian's energy state physics, the Zixtal's biological innovations, every unique evolutionary path. They were all deviations from the harvester's preferred patterns. "We didn't just create diversity," she breathed. "We created chaos, unpredictable evolution that they couldn't guide or control." The facility shuddered as the first harvester ship attempted to breach their defenses. But something was wrong with their attack pattern. It was hesitant, uncertain. "They're scared," James realized, watching the tactical display. For the first time in their existence, they can't predict what we'll do next. The AI projected one final recording, the last message from the First Empire scientists. "To our children and our children's children, we didn't just give you different paths to walk. We gave you the ability to make new paths. The harvesters can copy technology, but they cannot copy creativity. They cannot copy the chaos of true evolution." Outside, the harvester fleet grew larger. But now, Libby could see what she couldn't before. Signs of damage from their civil war, evidence of confusion in their tactics. They had fought themselves because they had encountered something their programming couldn't process. Genuine unpredictability. "Send this data to every species in the galaxy," Libby commanded. "Not just our allies. Everyone." Let them all see what we're really fighting." "Dr. Morgan," the AI interrupted, "there is one more file. A weapon design, but not like anything in the other vaults." The schematic appeared before them. Not a weapon of destruction, but a device that could do something far worse to the harvesters. It could introduce true randomness into their neural networks, forcing them to evolve naturally instead of through collection. "We wouldn't be destroying them," Rodriguez said quietly. "We'd be setting them free." Libby stared at the design, then at the massive fleet gathering above. The First Empire hadn't prepared for a war of extinction. They had prepared for something far more ambitious, the forced evolution of their very enemy. "Begin construction," she ordered, "and send word to Earth. Tell them it's time for the children of humanity to teach their greatest enemy how to grow up." The real battle wouldn't be fought with weapons, but with the one thing the harvesters had never mastered: the power to change. The device they called the evolution engine hung in space between Earth and Luna, a crystalline structure that seemed to bend reality around it. It represented everything humanity had become, not the brute force of their ancestors, but something more subtle and profound. "All species report ready," James announced from his station aboard the Prometheus. The combined fleet of their alien allies created a defensive sphere around Earth, each species contributing their unique technologies to the greatest shield ever created. "The harvesters have passed Mars' orbit," Rodriguez added. "But their formation, it's chaotic. Different ships are trying different approaches. They're already evolving." Libby watched the massive alien fleet approach. The Civil War had fractured their unity, creating factions that employed wildly different tactics. Some ships hung back, analyzing. Others pressed forward aggressively. They were experiencing something they'd never known before: diversity within their own kind. "Send the signal," she commanded. "All channels, all frequencies. Let them hear us." Her voice echoed across space, carried by technologies both ancient and new. "You've spent millions of years collecting the innovations of others, never learning to truly create. You forced evolution to follow predictable paths, never understanding that true growth requires chaos. Today, that changes." The evolution engine pulsed, its quantum fields reaching out toward the harvester fleet. But instead of attacking, it began broadcasting the complete history of Earth's life. Billions of years of natural selection, random mutations, unexpected adaptations, and countless failures that led to countless breakthroughs. "This is what you've been searching for," Libby continued. "Not the end results, but the process itself. The beautiful chaos of genuine evolution." The first wave of harvester ships reached the engine's broadcast range. Their formations dissolved as the signal took hold, introducing true randomness into their neural networks. Some ships attacked, others retreated. Many simply stopped, experiencing independent thought for the first time in their existence. "Multiple harvester ships are transmitting," James reported, his voice filled with wonder. "They're talking. Actually talking, not just exchanging data." Through the quantum feeds, Libby could hear them. Millions of unique voices where there had once been a single hive mind. Some were afraid. Others were angry. Many were simply curious, asking questions they'd never thought to ask before. "Your choice, right now, will determine your fate," Libby addressed the evolving fleet. "You can fight us, trying to preserve what you were, or you can join us, becoming something new. Either way, the age of the harvest is over. The age of evolution has begun." Hours passed as the harvester ships debated among themselves, their first true democratic discussion in millions of years. The combined fleet of Earth's children watched and waited, ready for either peace or war. Finally, a single harvester ship approached the evolution engine. Its design was already changing, showing signs of genuine innovation rather than copied technology. Its message was simple: "We choose growth." Others followed, each making their own choice. Some chose to leave the galaxy, unable to accept the change. Most stayed, hungry to learn what real evolution felt like. A few had to be destroyed, their programming too rigid to adapt. but they were a minority. It worked. Rodriguez breathed, watching the harvesters begin to transform. We didn't just survive them. We changed them. Libby smiled, looking out at the vast fleet of ships. Both their alien allies and their former enemies, now all part of the great experiment of evolution. That's what our ancestors knew all along. The greatest weapon isn't destruction, it's transformation. The quantum feeds brought images from across the galaxy, harvester ships working alongside their former prey, learning to create rather than collect. The Zixtal teaching them about biological adaptation. The Meridians showing them new forms of consciousness. Every species contributing to their evolution, just as humanity had once contributed to theirs. Send a message to Earth, Libby commanded. Tell them Operation Genesis is complete, but our real work is just beginning. As she watched the galaxy transform, Libby realized that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't surviving the harvesters or creating new species. It was teaching the galaxy that true strength lies not in power, but in the courage to change. The First Empire had hidden humanity to save them, but in the end, humanity had done something far greater. They had saved their greatest enemy from itself. The age of isolation was over. The age of infinite diversity had begun.